Okay, so today for flow, we'll start on our backs, soles of the feet on the mat. Find center on your back, rest the head, arms down by the sides. Keep the feet just hip width distance for now. And with the eyes closed, maybe you decide you want to bring the hands on the body. That's always okay. Or you can keep them down by the sides, whichever one feels better. Inhale in through the nose. The very top, hold the breath. Exhale back out through the nose. Inhale in through the nose. Keep going on your own. Ujjayi breath. Hug the right knee in toward the chest. You can grab onto the top of the shin or back of the thigh if that's bothering the knee. Left foot can stay where it is. Notice how much space you have with the lower back. You could also extend that left leg forward, but if you feel like it brings any tension or takes away space, then skip it. Bring the left hand to the top of the left thigh, just to encourage that leg to go down. You want the left leg to be firm. Open up the knee, the right knee out to the right, maybe like halfway. Try not to let that right sit bone come up. And you can change where you're holding the leg. You can grab onto the back of the right thigh. You could grab onto the calf, maybe the ankle. Foot might be a little bit much, but you can try it and see if it's there. And you're in a half happy baby. So right leg's in happy baby and the left leg's just going out in front of you. And the hips will have plenty of time to open, so don't feel like you have to force it here. If you haven't already, bring the sole of the left foot to the mat. Right ankle, left thigh, come into thread the needle. So you could bring the legs in, reach through, grab the back of the left thigh. Right foot is flexed, very important for the knee. And outer right knee is moving away from you. Stay in this hip opening. Left foot comes down to the mat. Open up the arms. Actually, no, let's do one other thing. So leave the left foot down on the mat, interlace the fingers back behind the head, lift the legs back up to where you had them, and then extend the left leg up. So now you're getting into the hamstring, but that right knee still pressing away from you. Look up, take an inhale. Exhale, lift the upper body up and away from the mat. Inhale back. So a lot of power in the legs to keep them here. Exhale up. Inhale back. Exhale up. Inhale back. Exhale up. Inhale back. Exhale up. One more like this. Inhale back. Exhale up. Stay up. Reach the arms forward, palms facing up. You're still moving that right knee away from you. And then bend the knee, set the left foot down, set the head down. Open up the arms wide. You can just have them in a T shape, or you could cactus the arms, bending at the elbow. Keep the shape of the legs. Just tip the legs over to the left. Right foot can either hover away from the ground or it can touch. Left foot can move away from you. That's about the lower back. So if you need more space there, move the left leg away from you. We all kind of end up in a different place with that bottom leg. So you want to make sure you're not feeling any crunching anywhere. Right knee still moving away from you. That's how you stay in the hip. And now we're getting into a different spot in the hip. Squeeze the legs together, bring them back to center. Right foot comes down onto the mat, left knee comes in toward the chest. Right leg extends out in front of you, which might feel nice. It was bent for quite a while. Right hand, top of the right thigh. Open up the left knee out to the left, maybe about halfway. Keep those sit bones level so the left sit bone doesn't lift up high. Right shoulder still on the mat, right hip still on the mat. And here's where you can play with where you have the hand. You can grab onto the back of the thigh. Do half happy baby this way, maybe the calf, ankle. If the foot's there, grab it. If not, don't force it. Give yourself some time. Right foot comes back to the mat if it's extended out in front of you. Left ankle, right thigh, thread the needle, bring the legs in, reach through, grab the back of the right thigh. Extend the right leg up to the sky. Keep the shape of the legs. Interlace the fingers back behind the head. Rest the head in the hands for a moment, just so you can get those legs firm. Outer left knee pressing away from you, right leg coming in toward the body. Take an inhale, look up. Exhale, lift the upper body up and away from the mat. Inhale back. Exhale up. Inhale back. Exhale up. Inhale back. Exhale up. One more like this. Inhale back. Exhale up. Stay up. Reach the arms forward. Palms face up. Chest is lifted. Shoulder blades are lifted. Bend the right knee. Set the right foot down to the mat. Set the head down to the mat. Open up the arms wide, either a T shape or a cactus. Tip the legs over to the right. That right foot can move away from you as much as you need it to. That's the bottom foot. Left knee's moving away from you. Left foot is either slightly lifted from the ground or touching. Keep squeezing the legs. Bring the legs back to center. Set the left foot down onto the mat. Hug the knees in toward the chest. Let's take happy baby. So full happy baby. Open up the knees wide. Grab onto whatever's there. It doesn't have to be the feet. That's the deepest variation, especially if you're grabbing the outer edges of the feet. Maybe you rock side to side. Keep those knees wider than the torso if you can. Hips down toward the mat. Lots of good hip opening to start today. We'll see where we can take this. Set the feet, hug the knees in toward the chest. And then let's do some rocks. If rocking doesn't feel good in your body, roll over to one side and just come to seated. If rocking feels okay, grab onto the backs of the thighs and start to rock up and down the spine. You'll just build some momentum so that rocks get a little bit bigger. And you could play with balancing in boat pose, Navasana, kind of have to hit the brakes at a certain point to be able to make that happen. Just an option. One more, maybe landing in Navasana, boat pose. Chest is lifted, core hugging in, arms reaching forward. Inner thighs are squeezing together, feet in line with the knees, or you could have the legs extended if it doesn't bother your hip flexors. Then set the feet down to the mat. Come forward to hands and knees. Tabletop. And let's open up the wrists a little bit. So you could either do one hand at a time where one hand turns all the way around. This is great if there's not as much mobility in the wrists or they're just sensitive. If you can do two hands, then do two hands. And on the inhale, reach the heart forward, lift the tail. On the exhale, round the spine, chin in toward the chest. Cat cow, keep going. Few more breaths on your own. If you have one hand going in the opposite direction, switch the hands. Even things out, come back to your cat cow. One more, forward and back. Back to neutral spine. Turn the hands around so fingertips point forward toward the mat. Walk the hands forward toward the top of the mat so the hands are ahead of the shoulders and you're reaching forward. Then shift forward so the shoulders stack over the wrists. So you still have the knees down on the mat. Belly hugs in, chest lifts, and that's how you keep the spine nice and long. Bend the elbows halfway, keep the chest open. So it's like chaturanga on the knees, and then come back up to the top, straighten the arms. Little different this time. Bend the elbows halfway, keep the chest open. Maybe you lift the knees and you're in chaturanga. Set the body down to the mat, tops of the feet to the mat, reach the arms back behind you, squeeze the hands together, keep the tops of the feet down, tailbone back, lift and spread the chest. And rest. So you can stack the hands, rest the forehead down, or you can bring the arms down by the sides and turn the head to one side. Either one works. And let's come back into that same back bend, Shalabhasana. So reach the arms back behind you, squeeze the hands together, lift and spread the chest. Legs are long, tops of the feet still pressing down. And release, rest. And when you rest, try to let everything go. So not holding yourself anywhere. One last one, locust pose. Come back to center, squeeze the hands together, lift and spread the chest. Get as long as you can. So the heart's reaching forward, the hands and the feet are reaching back at the same time. Belly's lifting away from the mat. Maybe you hover the feet, but don't go high. Keep them as low as you can without touching. Set the feet down, set the hands down, come up to hands and knees, take child's pose. Find a little bit of rounding in the spine when you do that. Forehead comes down, arms out in front of you if the shoulders are okay with it. Try to keep the forearms lifted away from the mat so you're squeezing the elbows in toward one another. Arms are firm. Send the shoulders toward the hips. Lift the gaze looking forward. Come to downward facing dog. Shift forward onto hands and knees, tucking the toes, down dog. And maybe you have a ritual here. If you don't, it's not a big deal, but most of us like a lot of movement. In the first one, taking several breaths just to check in with yourself, see how this one's feeling today. How your body's feeling, your mind, your spirit. Then step the right foot up between the hands, coming into a runner's lunge. So you can come up onto the fingertips. It's always nice to get the chest up a little bit higher for the first one. Hips can go lower. It's a great hip opening. Starts to warm the whole body up, getting you prepped for those standing balancing poses. Then straighten the front leg, modify pyramid pose. So the hands will probably want to walk back. You can let the head and the neck go. Still high on the ball, the back foot, so that heel's not touching down. And if you need a bend in the front knee, that's fine. You listen to your legs. Inhale forward to your lunge, hands down, step back, downward facing dog. Left foot steps up between the hands, runner's lunge. Lift the chest up, coming up onto the fingertips, stretching that right leg back behind you. Trying to keep the hips square. Sometimes they go off to the left, or one just lifts up higher than the other. Straighten the front leg. Maybe the hands walk back. Let the head and the neck go. Be gentle with the backside of that left leg. Inhale forward to your lunge. Plant the hands underneath the shoulders. Step back, downward facing dog. Bend the knees. Look forward to the top of the mat. Walk the feet up to the hands. So try to take several steps to get there. Maybe keeping the legs straight, seeing how long you can keep the hands down toward the mat. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. 2 more like that. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Last one. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. This time, circle the arms up on your inhale. Bring the hands together overhead, down in front of the heart. Reach the arms up overhead on the inhale. Stay here, Urdhva Hastasana. So you're standing tall, you're rooting down through the legs and the feet, you're lifting up through the upper body, trying to keep the shoulders in place. Bend the left elbow, so you're reaching down the center of the back. Grab onto that left elbow with the right hand. Keep the upper body lifted, legs even. Lean the upper body over to the right. So getting into the shoulder and the side body. So that left leg's driving down through the mat. Left side of the waist is lifting up and away from the legs. Come back to center. Both arms reach up. This time, bend the right elbow. Grab onto the right elbow. Lengthen. So stand as tall as you can. And then lean over to the left. Legs go down. Waist lifts up and away from the hips. Chest points straight forward. So if your back was up against the wall, both shoulder blades would be touching. Back up through center. Reach the arms all the way up. Widen the hands. Exhale, fold forward over the legs. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold, bend the knees, hands to the mat, step back to plank pose, lower down halfway chaturanga, maybe up dog if you feel ready, take cobra if you don't. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look to the top of the mat, bring the feet up to the hands, maybe one big step. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Circle the arms all the way up to standing. Hands come together overhead, down in front of the heart. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, bend the knees, plant the hands, step back to plank pose, shift forward onto the toes, lower down halfway chaturanga. Inhale up for your back bend. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Knees bend, look forward, bring the feet up. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Circle the arms all the way up to standing. Hands come together overhead, down in front of the heart. One more. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold, hands to the mat, back to plank pose. Lower down halfway, chaturanga. Inhale up for your back bend. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Reach the right leg up and back, three-legged down dog. Step the right foot all the way through, up between the hands, coming into a runner's lunge. Left hand underneath the left shoulder, right arm reaches up for a twist. So keep that left thigh lifted, chest is opening to the right. Right hand comes back down to the mat. Straighten the front leg, stay high on the ball of the back foot. Maybe walk the hands back, modified pyramid pose. Inhale forward to your lunge. Spin the left heel down flat, heel to arch or heel to heel. You can either leave the right hand down outside the foot, maybe on a block, or forearm to the thigh. Lift the left arm up, side angle pose. So that right hip is behind the right knee. And then you're lengthening from the right hip to the right underarm and rolling the chest open toward the sky. Make sure you're still driving down through that back leg. Reverse warrior. Take your time, dig into both legs, reach that right arm up and back. Straighten the front leg, still reaching up and back, reverse triangle. Come up to standing, arms out wide, triangle. Shift the hips back, right hand comes down, doesn't need to be very low, left arm lifts up. You could use a block, especially if you're already using one, just outside the calf. So it's behind the foot, outside of the calf, underneath the right shoulder. Turn the left palm, the top palm, to face forward. Reach that left arm up and over the ear. So still rooting down through that left leg, reaching up and over with the left arm so you get really long in the whole left side body. If you're not already, look down at the right foot, bring the hands down to the mat. You find yourself back in a lunge, make your way back, downward facing dog. Opportunity for a vinyasa if that sounds like a good idea. Left leg reaches up and back, three-legged down dog. Step the left foot all the way through, up between the hands. Right hand underneath the right shoulder. Left arm reaches up for that twist. Top of the right thigh stays lifted. Deep lunge in that front knee. Left hand down to the mat. Straighten the front leg. Walk the hands back. You could even lift the hands up on blocks too if it's hard to get the hands down to the mat. But lengthen the backside of the left leg. Inhale forward to your lunge. Spin the right heel down flat. You probably need to hop it in a little bit, heel to arch or heel to heel. Left hand can stay where it is, maybe on a block outside the foot or forearm to thigh. Side angle pose, right arm reaches straight up. Reverse warrior. Left arm reaches up and back. Keep the lunge in the front leg, front knee. Straighten the front leg, reaching up and back, reverse triangle. Coming up to standing, shorten your stance if you'd like, triangle pose. Shift forward with the left side of the body, bring that left hand down, maybe to the block, right arm reaches up. Turn the right palm to face forward. Extend the right arm up and over the ear. Drive down through both legs evenly. See if you can open up the chest a little bit more. Looking down at the mat, bend that left knee, hands to the mat. Step back, downward facing dog. Stay here or take a vinyasa. Okay, a little different this time. Reach the right leg up and back. Right shin comes all the way up behind the forearms. Single pigeon is just a little one. So keep the chest lifted, stretch that left leg back behind you, walk the hands in, and then squeeze the hips together. Keep the chest lifted, maybe sinking down into the hips a little bit, but try to keep them even. We're headed somewhere. Okay, hands come down to the mat, tuck the back toes, back to down-legged, or downward facing dog. Sorry, guys. Left leg reaches up and back. Single pigeon on this side. Doesn't need to be a big one. Bring the shin forward, left knee out to the side. Set the back knee down, scoot that right foot back a little bit, walk the hands in, keep the chest lifted. You're squeezing the hips together, and that's what helps you keep the hips side by side. Sometimes with single pigeon, one hip gets way ahead of the other hip. All right, hands back down to the mat, just like downward facing dog. Tuck the back toes, send that left foot back, downward facing dog. Then bend the knees, look to the top of the mat, step, walk, get the feet up to the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Chair pose. Weights in the heels of the feet, chest is lifted, core tight. Come all the way up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. Let's just take a breath here. Press into the hands, maybe close the eyes, root down through the legs, lift up through the crown of the head so you get as long as you possibly can. Maybe even visualizing a beam of light coming from the crown of the head, going up through the sky, up through the earth. Okay, blink the eyes open, sit back, chair pose. Look down at the feet, shift the weight over to the right foot, left ankle, right thigh, standing pigeon. So a familiar shape, we've been playing with this. Hands come together, down in front of the heart. And then you can play with how far you want to sit back, but know that the hips want to open up to the left. See if you can get them square and find that balance between squaring the hips and then staying low with the legs. Chest can stay a little lifted if you want. Okay, good. Right hand, right hip, take that left foot, bring it to the inner thigh, come up to tree pose. So left foot, place it on the inner thigh, stand tall on the right leg. You want that foot to go as high up as you can get it. And then arms reach up for your Vrikshasana tree pose. Keep the gaze straight forward. Outer right hip hugs in, lower belly lifts. Hands come together, down in front of the heart. Point that left knee straight forward. Step back to a lunge. You can keep the chest low. Left hand down, right arm up for that twist. Right hand down to the mat, straighten the front leg, fold over the right leg, which should feel nice. This right leg's been like chair pose and bent this whole time. So give it a break. If you're starting to get open in the right leg and you want to deepen it, you could lift the toes up on the right foot. Just listen to the messages you're getting from your leg. It'll tell you right away if it's a good idea or not. Right foot comes down to the mat. If you lifted it, spin that left heel down flat, maybe hop it in. Right hand outside the foot, block or forearm to that thigh. Left arm reaches up, side angle pose. Try not to swing that right hip out to the right. Reverse warrior. Legs stay the same. Right arm reaches up and back. Left hand's light. Straighten the front leg. Come up to standing, find triangle pose. Hip shift back. Right arm reaches forward, reaches down. Left arm reaches up. Left palm turns to face forward. Reach the left arm up and over the ear. Look down at the mat. Bring the hands to the mat, coming onto the ball of the back foot. Little bend in that right knee. Step the left foot up to meet the right. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Utkatasana chair pose. All the way up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. Close the eyes, pause, keep the breath going. Find your center. See how long you can be, much longer than the physical body. Open up the eyes, bend the knees, sit back, chair pose, arms up. Looking down at the feet, weight over to the left foot, right ankle, left thigh. Sit back. Once you get there with the legs, you can bring the hands together down in front of the heart and then focus on squaring the hips, getting into that right hip. Left leg's just like chair. Left hand, left hip, right hand, right foot, tree pose. Sole the right foot inside the left thigh. Hug that outer left hip in, reach the arms up. Gaze is eye level for best stability. If you want a challenge, you can look up. Try not to look down, it doesn't help. Hands come together, down in front of the heart. Point that right knee straight forward. Step it back to a lunge. Take your time, tinker with it a little bit. Try to stay steady. As you bend the standing leg, you land on the ball of the back foot. Right hand comes down underneath the right shoulder. Left arm reaches up for that twist. Left hand down, straighten the front leg, modified pyramid. Maybe the toes come up on the left foot, you decide. Set that foot down. If it's lifted, come back to your lunge. Spin the right heel down flat. Left hand maybe stays where it is. Right arm reaches up. Parsvakonasana, side angle pose. Reverse warrior. Straighten the front leg. Keep reaching up and back. Up to standing. Find triangle pose. Right palm turns to face forward. Reach the right arm up and over the ear. Look down at the mat. Come onto the ball of the back foot, hands to the mat. Right foot steps up to meet the left foot. Inhale up halfway. Hands down to the mat. Bend the knees. Step back. Plank pose. Vinyasa on the way to downward facing dog if you like. Three breaths in down dog. Bend the knees, look up to the top of the mat, get the feet up between the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Utkatasana chair pose on your inhale. All the way up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. Pause, close the eyes, stand tall. Steady the breath. Blink open the eyes, Chair pose. Knees bend, chest lifts, arms lift. Look down at the right foot, left ankle, right thigh, back to standing pigeon. Hands come together at the heart. You could stay right here. You could also play with lowering the chest down and seeing if you can touch the mat or maybe even blocks. That's deeper. If your left hip isn't having it, stay back so that the hands are lifted. You can stay in prayer. Keep squaring the hips. If the hands are down, bring the hands back in front of the heart like prayer. Right hand, right hip, left hand, left foot, tree pose. Come up to standing. Bring that gaze up to eye level. Reach the arms up when you're ready. Left knee points straight forward like you're going to take a big step forward. Listen up. Right hand, left knee, left arm reaches back. So open the chest to the side. Press that right thigh back behind you. Stand tall. Lift up through the crown of the head. Reach the arms forward all the way up. Keep that leg lifted. Back to crescent pose. Push that left leg way back. Deep lunge in the front knee. Arms are up. Spin the left heel down flat. Open up the arms like warrior two, just as a transition, side angle pose. You can bring the right hand down, forearm to thigh, but left arm's reaching straight up. So hands are 12 and 6 o'clock. Reverse warrior. Straighten the front legs, still reaching up and back. Come up to standing, find triangle pose. Left palm turns to face forward. Reach that left arm up and over the ear. So the palm of the left hand's facing behind you. Thumb is up, pinky side down. Look down at the mat, hands to the mat, bending that front knee. Step that left foot up to meet the right foot. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees, sit back, chair pose, Utkatasana. All the way up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart, eyes open or closed, stand tall. Blink open the eyes, next inhale, sit back, Utkatasana chair. Looking down at the mat, shift the weight to the left foot, right ankle, left thigh. Hands come together right in front of the heart, square the hips. Stay here. This side might be totally different, or play with bringing the hands down to the mat. Maybe fingertips, maybe you can get the hands flat. Maybe you're using blocks, which would be a great idea too. But bringing the chest lower gets deeper into the hip opening. If the hands are down, bring them back together in front of the heart like prayer. Keep the chest lifted, left hand, left hip, right hand, right foot, tree pose. Place the foot above the knee if you can. Reach the arms all the way up. Right knee points straight forward, left hand, right knee, reach that right arm back. Keep the chest lifted, stand tall on the left leg. Arms come up, chest forward, crescent pose. Push that right leg back behind you like you're pushing weight back. Land light on the ball of the back foot, reach the arms up. Warrior two transition to side angle pose. Left hand down, right arm up. Reverse warrior. Straighten the front leg, stay here, reverse triangle. Come up to standing triangle. You can start seeing after playing with these deep hip openers, how it affects the other poses. So even a pose like triangle, maybe the hand naturally comes down a little bit lower without as much effort. That doesn't make the pose better, it's just different. Turn the right palm to face forward, right arm up and over the ear. Shoulder still in place. You're not reaching with the right shoulder. Look down at the mat, come onto the hands, bend that left knee, step the right foot up to meet the left foot, inhale up halfway, exhale, fold, vinyasa if you want on the way back to downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look to the top of the mat, get the feet up to the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees, sit back, chair pose. All the way up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. Close the eyes, stand tall. And if you're all the way up at the top of the mat, maybe back up so you have a little bit of mat in front of the feet. Come back to standing tall with the hands together at the heart. Blink open the eyes, bend the knees, sit back, chair pose. Look down at the feet, left ankle, right thigh, standing pigeon, any version. So maybe the hands come together. Maybe you start to lower the chest. Maybe the hands come down underneath the shoulders. If you can get the hands flat on the mat, you could play with the arm balance, flying pigeon, but that left shin needs to come all the way up underneath the arms. You hook the foot, the left foot outside of the right arm, and then you can maybe hop that right foot back and send the right leg up and back. It's not happening for me today, but go for it if you're looking for an added challenge. Either way, you're getting a nice hip opening, no matter where you are. If you're in flying pigeon, start to land it, right foot back down, hands down. Bring the hands together in front of the heart. Lift the chest, right hand, right hip, left hand, left foot. Come up to tree pose. Eyes forward, arms up. Find the twist. Left knee points forward, right hand, left knee, left arm reaches back. You could play with grabbing the outer edge of the left foot and extending that left leg forward. It doesn't have to be all the way straight. Just stand as tall as you can. Arms reach up, chest forward, crescent pose. Press that left leg back. Nice long stride. Warrior two, just a transition, side angle pose. Right hand down, left arm up. Reverse warrior. Straighten the front leg. Come up to standing, then find triangle. Left palm faces forward. Reach the left arm over the ear, still driving down through that left leg. Look down at the mat, hands to the mat. Step the left foot up to meet the right foot. Still a ways back from the top of the mat. You want some space there. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees, Utkatasana chair pose. All the way up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. Close the eyes, find your center. Just the other side here. Blink open the eyes, bend the knees, chair pose. Look down, right ankle, left thigh. Your version of standing pigeon could be different on this side. Maybe hands together, maybe chest lowers, maybe the hands come down to the mat. If you're playing with the arm balance, hands need to be flat. You wiggle that shin up underneath as high up on the arms as you can, looking forward, chest forward. Maybe the back foot hops back.
chaturanga arms. And then you see if you can extend that left leg back, maybe even lift it. Hands come back down. You're back in your standing pigeon. Hands come together in front of the heart. Left hand, left hip, right hand, right foot. Tree pose. Arms up. Right knee points forward. Find that twist. Open the chest to the right, either hand to the right knee or outer edge of that right foot. Chest forward, arms up. Crescent pose, take your time. Warrior two to side angle pose. Left hand down, right arm up. Reverse warrior. Reverse triangle, straighten the front leg. Come up to standing. Last triangle pose. Shift the hips back, left arm down, right arm up. Turn the palm to face forward, extended triangle. Right arm over the ear. Hands come down to the mat, step back, downward facing dog. Maybe a vinyasa. Then lift the right leg up and back, single pigeon. Bring that shin forward, right knee out to the right. Send that left leg back. Top of the foot presses down, big toe points straight back. Bring the hands to the outer hips, squeeze the hips together, lift the chest. Now start to fold forward over this right leg. So this single pigeon should feel way more accessible than usual. We've been in this shape quite a bit. Playing with all the pigeons today. Recline pigeon, standing pigeon, flying pigeon maybe. Now you're in single pigeon. Good. Come back up onto the hands, tuck the back toes, bring it back, downward facing dog. Maybe pedal out the feet here. You could even move that right leg around if you want to do some circles with the knee or whatever it is. And you'll start to switch sides from downward facing dog. Left leg reaches up and back. Bring that shin through, up behind the forearms. Adjust if each hip is a little bit different. Hug the hips in as you bring the hands outside the hips, and then start to fold forward over the left leg. So sit bones are even. One's not ahead of the other. And you can always put a block underneath that left hip if there's a big gap between the mat and the hip. That'll help you even out the hips. And bring the hands down underneath the shoulders, tuck the back toes, step back, downward facing dog, maybe pedal out the feet, move that left leg around. And when you're ready, bring the knees down to the mat, feet over to one side. You're coming to seated with the legs out in front of you. So soles of the feet are on the mat, hips down on the mat. Bring the hands back behind you so you're reclined. And then walk the feet out so you can still keep the soles of the feet on the mat, knees bent, but they're a little farther away from you. Right ankle, left thigh. So back to this reclined pigeon. And then you can start to walk that left heel in, not as tight as you can go, just so that the foot's a little bit ahead of the knee. Right foot's still flexed, hands are firm behind you. You can keep the fingertips pointing out. That usually helps the wrists. dig into that left heel, lift the hips up. So it's reverse tabletop, but you've got the right leg crossed on the left thigh. Gaze forward is nice for most of us. It keeps the space in the neck and also doesn't make this feel like a bigger back bend. Set the hips back down to the mat, right foot down to the mat. Walk the feet out a little bit just to help the transition. Left ankle, right thigh. Maybe that you need to slide the right foot back if you're going to do this reverse tabletop, but you still want it ahead of the knee a little bit. And you don't want this outer right ankle bone pressing into the thigh. So move it over to the right. If that's happening, it'll just be painful. So press into that right heel, keep the hips even, lift up. Maybe the gaze goes forward. Still a hip opening even here. Slowly start to release, bring the hips back down to the mat, left foot down to the mat so the feet are side by side. We'll come up to reverse tabletop with both feet down. So press into the hands, lift the hips up, lengthen the front side of the body. And slowly bring the hips back down to the mat. Extend the legs out in front of you. So you're coming up to seated, arms down by the sides. Bring the sole, the right foot in. Step the right foot over the left leg. And maybe you bend the bottom leg. You can keep the bottom leg straight if you want to. We want the sole, this right foot, to be down on the mat. So this right knee's up high. Open the chest to the right. You can hug this right knee in toward the body. If you want to hook the elbow, you can hook the elbow. Press down to both sit bones to sit up a little bit taller and then find your twist. Bring the gaze back forward. Keep the legs, just unwind the chest. Come to a cross-legged seat, right shin in front of the left shin. So cross-legged seat, shift side to side so you feel even on the hips. One last pigeon, maybe double pigeon. You could just keep the legs like this though. If you want to play with double pigeon, you take this right foot, bring it up on top of the left knee. So it's fire log pose is another name for it. That means your shins are parallel. Stacked ankle to knee on each side. Sit up tall. And if there's a big gap between the right knee and the left foot, put something between it, block, blanket, pillow. Sit up tall, start to fold forward, double pigeon. Hands start to walk back in. So you come back up to seated. If you're in double pigeon, take that right foot, bring it forward to the mat. Bring the hands back behind you. Soles of the feet wide to the outer edges of the mat and just let the knees go side to side. The internal hip rotation on the left leg will probably feel really good when you bring that inner left knee down toward the mat. And then you'll come back to center, legs out in front of you. This time, left foot comes to the mat. Step the left foot over the right leg. Maybe you bend that bottom leg, but you're not on the feet. Sit bones are even on the mat. Sole the left foot on the mat so the knee comes up high. Wrap that right arm around the bent leg. Sit up tall. Find your twist. Bring the gaze back forward, unwind the upper body, and then find a cross-legged seat, left shin in front of the right. Find even on the sit bone, shifting side to side. And then keeping the legs where they are, or taking the left foot, bringing it on top of the right knee, making sure that right foot isn't back. So the right ankle is right underneath the left knee and the right ankle's on top of the right knee. Maybe bring something between that gap if there is one. Sit up tall, fold forward, double pigeon, other side. Toes point straight to the top of the mat. Walk the hands back in, coming back up to seated. If the left foot's on top, bring it back down to the mat, hands back behind you, sitting back, separate the feet wide, knees side to side, windshield wipers. You'll come back to seated with the legs extended out in front of you. Sitting up tall, arms reach up, take an inhale. Exhale, fold over the legs, Paschimottanasana. Maybe grab onto the feet, but you don't have to. You could also put a block behind the feet if you feel a little longer. Let the head and the neck go. And start to come back up to seated, all the way down onto your back. So soles of the feet to the mat, head down on the mat, hug the knees in toward the chest, maybe rock side to side a little bit, eyes are closed. Then take a deep breath in through the nose, give yourself a little bit of a squeeze. And on the exhale, Shavasana, extend the legs out in front of you. Make sure all your props are off to the side if you're not using them. Start to let go of the breath control and let go. Start to wiggle the fingers and the toes. Stretching the arms overhead. Get long on your mat. Bring the feet to the mat. Roll over to one side, cradle the head on the arm, eyes closed. Hands bring you up to seated. Bring the hands together in front of you. Keep the lift of the chest. Slight bow of the head. Take a moment, honor and acknowledge your heart and spirit, as well as everyone around you. Bring the head back up, blink open the eyes. Namaste. Thanks for joining today for the Pigeon Flow. Of course, I thought of one more pigeon that we did not explore today, but maybe we'll do that next week, if I remember. All right. Have a good one. See you guys next time.